autonomous, activate, elevate. Hello and welcome back to Mastering HubSpot AI. Thanks for coming to episode number 4. Today, John and I are talking about ChatGPT MCP server with HubSpot, what that means. We're going to dive under the hood a little bit about what is MCP and what are some practical use cases, as well as just how to safeguard your team and setting it up properly. John, welcome back to the show. Really excited to jump into MCP server discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Excited for episode 4. Let's dive in.
So, John, let's talk just about what MCP is. This is really bounced on the scene this year. I want to take people through why should a RevOps person or marketing manager care about MCP? What does this do for their day-to-day? Tell me how this kind of connects with all the AI discussions we're having today.
Yeah. So, first of all, for those of you whose eyes glaze over when you hear MCP, let's just explain it in a very simple way. So, today you have ChatGPT and then a platform like HubSpot that right now need to talk to each other via an API, or that's traditionally how it's been done, right? So, we might have my phone here, which is ChatGPT. We might have my AirPods case. And right now, or until MCPs came out, you needed to develop an API that allowed these two systems to talk to each other. Today, an MCP is just a standalone server like this that just essentially allows you to plug in your ChatGPT and then, like a universal adapter, allow you to plug in other applications. And this MCP, one, takes away the need to create a custom API integration between your AI tool and your platforms for each platform. But importantly, it allows you to set up guardrails, security protocols, and permissions of what is allowed to go between a ChatGPT and a HubSpot, so that whoever is using it inside your organization always is using it in the way that it's set up to be used. So there's no way really to get around the guardrails. So no sensitive data gets leaked or put into a black box of a model. So that is, in a nutshell, MCP. It's just a universal adapter.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to think about how it's sort of this multi-connect tool. And trying to think about MCP, just even at a higher level, I'm trying to think about like why would marketers even care about this in the longer term, or what's the future of how a marketer spends most of his or her day working, and in all these tools using MCP we're seeing come on the scene. Either it's almost the assumption that marketing people, salespeople are going to be spending more of their time just in the ChatGPT interface or the Gemini interface. They're going to connect all their tools into that one LLM and just live inside there and just use that tool to be able to talk to all their tools instead of hopping from one platform to another tool, which is how many of us spend our days, just 13 tabs open. Any thoughts on bigger picture on like how you're seeing clients spending more of their time in adopting just day-to-day use of ChatGPT or another tool?
Yeah. So first of all, you're right. I see a lot of clients using different chat or AI platforms. And really a lot of the time, the workflow is, let me copy in data from, say, HubSpot, and then have ChatGPT analyze it and synthesize it, give me recommendations or understandings of the data. So with MCP, practically what this will do is allow you to centralize all of your, basically, your chat-based workflow, right, inside of a ChatGPT without having to go outside to other platforms. So you'll be able to do things like access and summarize deal objects and contacts and ticket data, right? For a RevOps person or a sales teammate, you can really make sure that as a RevOps person too, whoever in your organization is using ChatGPT, practically speaking, they have the prompts, first of all, that they need to be successful, but two, they have the connection to the data. So they're not operating, copying in data, losing time, not sure what platform to go to. So it just, I think, seamlessly allows a lot easier of a day-to-day workflow for your sales and marketing teammates, and in a secure way that everybody can get behind. You can start training people on day one of your organization. Hey, let's go to ChatGPT. Let's walk through a couple of things you might do on a daily basis and how to get it done.
Yeah, and that kind of jumps into our next discussion point, is just like the practical capabilities of ChatGPT, because with this ChatGPT HubSpot connector, which HubSpot was the first one to build this connector compared to all the other CRM platforms out there, it does a lot more than just like read information from HubSpot. So can you talk a little bit more about like what does this partnership between ChatGPT and HubSpot, how does that actually transform a marketer salesperson's day-to-day actual activities?
Yeah. So let's see. If you're working on, let's just go through a couple examples, right? Let's say that as a salesperson, you want to summarize deal progress, right? So that's an easy, like you pull data, assuming the MCP setup, you pull data from HubSpot and you're able to see as like a sales manager the deal progress of all of your different reps. You could, as a marketing manager or individual contributor, allow that, go into ChatGPT and say, okay, where are all of my stale leads? Go ahead and write follow-up lead nurturing emails to each of these, right? And whether that's a marketer that sends that or you hand that off to the salesperson through a sales enablement kind of workflow, that allows you to not only pull data from HubSpot, but then push data or write data back into HubSpot, therefore saving time from having to copy and paste or go into the platform and move between different tools, which of course I think has a lot of different benefits, one of them being just the time savings.
Yeah, I think some of those examples really resonate, with our viewers. They uh, I think the being able to just read information is useful, and maybe you'll take some of that read information and then combine it with other prompts inside of ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. It's useful, but yeah, I think the ultimate efficiency tool, productivity tool is when you can write back. And I know HubSpot, it's either beta or just launched the ability to now write back into HubSpot, which is super powerful. And it's setting us up for a world where if a marketer or salesperson, they prefer to work inside of ChatGPT, and that's like where they're most productive, and then they can do it in there. Or if it's inside of HubSpot, they can do it in there. I think it's providing flexibility more than
Yeah.
anything, because it's not like forcing you to work in a certain place. And I think that's like really the benefit of making this AI more usable in more places.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's just the beginning in many ways of what AI can access, what it can manipulate, what it can pull from as far as data is concerned. I mean, we may go over some prompts here or share them, but just as far as data operations is concerned, I think the benefits and the potential productivity gains that can be had from using a tool like ChatGPT and connecting it to say HubSpot to make sure you have clean data, dedupe data, overall data hygiene process is always in place is huge because as we're talking through a lot of kind of end user examples around marketing and sales, it all relies on the data. Is the data clean? Is the data accurate? And making sure that that is on the front end is going to be, I think, one of the most critical pieces. And things like an MCP server can make sure that that happens. I suggest starting off really simple, really easy. So for like deal progress, you could just prompt, hey, summarize deal progress for deals that are greater than $50,000 in the deal amount. And boom, like that, it will give you a list of all those deals. You could go further and say for only deals for this team or this specific salesperson, HubSpot user, and then continue that conversation and dive deeper as if you were having a conversation with your sales team about these deals.
Yeah, and I would add to that one too. I think many of us, you're using our CRMs in more sophisticated ways where maybe we have a pipeline that has new business development, and then maybe another pipeline for cross sell, upsell, things like that. So, but as John said, like all you have to do is say, summarize my deal progress for these size of deals for this specific pipeline. And it does spit out results that are quite accurate. Even like just looking back, comparing HubSpot reporting into what we're seeing within ChatGPT, they're almost one to one. What about sales managers go into their one-on-ones with their reps on a weekly basis, trying to understand pipeline hygiene and kind of progress of that? What's prompt number two that we could share with the audience just on some of that?
Yeah. So again, keeping it simple, start with the prompt that is literally identify deals missing next steps or activity. So that way you can come to your one-on-one with your salesperson and saying, okay, we have these dozen deals that skip stage 2 or don't have any call activity. And you use that as just part of your agenda or talking points during that call to get more information around that. Sometimes there may be a really good reason. Other times it may be, I just overlooked that. I didn't reach out to them yet. I have it as my follow up today. So just asking, hey, show me the deals where there is no activity or missing steps or missing stages, skip stages.
Love that one. And I think that going into those types of sales meetings, you have a lot of these similar types of conversations. And I think over time, you start to train your team, your reps that like you're going to ask that question again. So be ready for it. And even they can use these types of prompts in their own ChatGPT saying, hey, I'm getting ready for a sales meeting with my manager, analyze my deals to see what are the questions my manager is going to be asking about that I need to be prepared to answer.
Exactly. And both as an individual salesperson and as a sales manager, once you get into the routine of really refining your prompts or what data you're looking to pull, you now essentially have another very smart, instantaneous assistant to pull all of that data for you, which is going to save you however much prep time you use before these calls and give you the data that it's seeing inside of HubSpot.
Yep, exactly. Let's go to prompt number 3. So this one, I want to go into how should marketers be thinking about this. I think marketers, especially it's smart, but we're generating a lot of leads from top funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel. How could we be using ChatGPT to better score our leads?
Let's say you're a marketing team, you've defined your ideal customer profile, you've set that up as well as personas inside of HubSpot. You could just prompt ChatGPT, rank my new leads by ICP fit. So let's say you have 100 leads over the last week or month, and you really want to surface who are the best fit according to the ICP you've set up. That is a good starter prompt for any marketer, either an individual contributor to understand how your campaigns are performing, or as a marketing manager to understand overall how the marketing engine is driving more qualified leads to the sales team.
Love that ranking leads by ICP fit. Super powerful from a scoring perspective. What about, okay, prompt number 4. Let's talk about trying to keep your finger on the pulse on the market. What's a good prompt that like sales managers could be using to best understand what are prospects talking about?
This is probably my favorite one, and it is simply summarize all sales meetings this week. And you are going to get a treasure trove of data from that. You're going to understand from a salesperson's perspective where they may be asking really good questions or perhaps missing some good opportunities to probe deeper. You're going to be understanding from these sales meetings with the prospects, like what are objections that they keep raising or pain points. And from there, not only from the sales team's perspective, they can get better. That data can be passed to all departments across your organization, marketing, CS, and beyond to understand, hey, there's actually a really good opportunity here to target this pain point. We need to talk about this more because this is something new that's surfacing that we either haven't seen before or haven't heard before.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that prompt. Summarizing all your sales meeting transcripts inside there, which if you're using HubSpot's sales recording tools or you're using a third-party tool like Fathom, I think one of the most important things you should be doing is really as a RevOps person, or if you're working in HubSpot, is making sure those transcripts or at least the summaries of those get into HubSpot. And I think that's really where we've been able to unlock a lot of value. One of the questions we get from our board is where prospects asking about and customers talking about, things like that. And this type of being able to gather this data, summarize at a high level and saying, hey, here's the 5 most common conversations we're seeing over and over. Like this really helps you identify from product development and overall arching like corporate strategy. Like what do you want to be doing? What are we building this next quarter and next year?
And even these podcasts, right? A lot of this is guided by real input from real customers. What are people trying to learn about and hear about and understand?
Yep. Yeah. So let's close out the prompt number 5, something for our customer service, customer support, client success type of folks. What's a good prompt for these folks who are using Chat GPT MCP server?
Yeah, so this is a lead on from summarizing sales meetings in a way, but it's summarizing customer meetings. So your prompt might be identify top customer issues and suggest knowledge base improvement. You have your ticket pipeline set up inside of HubSpot and your customer support team. They continue to get the same ticket categories, right? Hey, I'm dealing with this issue over and over again. You can ask ChatGPT to pull that information for you, which then you can use to create new knowledge base articles, which will then in turn, of course, lower your ticket volume, which will allow your CS team and your customer support, ticket pipeline to focus on more higher priority, complex issues with customers.
And also think of like similar to prompt number 4, summarizing tickets from this last month. Like, is there an overarching product issue from somewhere that we just keep seeing a category of issues happening? And do we need to create better customer education around a certain area? Or do we need to educate our support team better on a certain mechanism? Do we need to write a new article? Do we need to improve our product? So I think both of these really tie together well.
Yeah, I just really would say for anyone listening, save these prompts. They're reusable. And then I think you'll find, as with anything, with practice, you'll start to refine, kind of develop them into your own style or add on to them based off of really your own processes and what you need for your organization.
Yep. Save them to your library, your prompt library. Um, awesome. So, all right, let's go to the last section of this, just about risks and safeguards and thinking about how do we get started with this. So, when connecting your entire HubSpot CRM, your customer platform to any other system does come with risk. What are your thoughts on safeguards that RevOps teams need to be putting in place or HubSpot admins need to be putting in place before they start just connecting their customer platform to other LLMs?
Yeah. So, we talked about the MCP, right? Server at the beginning of this. And that is just that universal adapter that allows you to connect, say, ChatGPT to HubSpot and other platforms. I would say, like, the main thing to keep in mind is you need to really review your permission set very carefully at first, make sure all stakeholders are involved and in agreement. And then on a regular basis, make sure that stakeholders, if the current permission set, but if things need to be updated. So regularly reviewing that. When starting with this, just start with read-only access. So back to asking HubSpot, or excuse me, ChatGPT to say, review my deals, right? That's a good read-only access. You can't write any data. You can't write any emails, sending emails, anything like that, right? So start with something like that and making sure that, okay, the data is coming through okay. I think I'm starting to understand what's going on here. But then maintaining standardized naming conventions too on the side of HubSpot to make sure the data that's coming in, you always know it's accurate or how to fact check it. And again, that just comes down to data hygiene whenever you're inputting data into HubSpot, whether it's from a ChatGPT system or internally inside the HubSpot platform.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like the start small. Start with read only before you start giving out power to be able to update back into HubSpot. If you ever want to do that, maybe you want to just use ChatGPT as a place to be able to review information, create reports, but you really don't want it to write back. So like that could be another option for your organization that can still provide a lot of power.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just synthesizing, analyzing data can steer a lot of decisions for any organization. So if you never get to the point where you're pushing data to HubSpot, that's fine. There's a lot of utility and value just reading it.
Awesome. John, thanks for joining us again today, Mastering HubSpot AI, talking all things MCP server. We're excited, everybody, for you joining us today. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.